Hello everyone and welcome back to the Retro Recall. I hope you're doing awesome. Today we have another beautiful machine on the bench, and this is the first for the Retro Recall to have a Sony VAIO Desktop PC with us. Very excited to go through this machine today, excited to tell the story about how I got it, and really excited to get it going. So you know what? We have lots of excitement on the go here. Let's get right to it. And we're back, and I'm equally as excited now as I was a few seconds ago, before the intro. I'm so excited. Anybody who's been watching the channel knows this is the first Sony VAIO that we have on the bench. I've been searching for a Sony VAIO for quite some time. It's one of those systems that always eluded me growing up, and even, as the years went by, I just loved seeing these systems in the stores. All the different types of designs of these systems, they always kind of went against what the market was doing at the time with the grays and the blues and the shapes and the quality of the builds and the various software suites that came with them. And, there were certain things proprietary that Sony brought out, like the memory stick type format and things like that, that really made a difference, kind of separated themselves in the computer market. Now, this particular system is even more special because it was donated to the channel. So thank you so much to Susan, Ann, and Patty for doing that for the Retro Recall and all the viewers today. So let's go over the computer. So we have a Sony emblem up top here, which is awesome. And we have the DVD-RW, CD-RW drive, which is populated. And we also have a CD-ROM drive that's populated as well. And again, this comes from that era that I know, like today, we have singular drive if we even have a drive today. But it came from that era that, if you wanted to have a CD reader and a DVD or CD-RW, you could put that in there. And you could have multiple media in at the same time, whether you were going to back up some data or back up a CD or things like that. So having that was very convenient. At least I found it was. Then we have a 3.5-inch floppy drive. It's a standard drive that's inside of it, but just has a nice front bezel here, courtesy of Sony. Then we have the VAIO symbol here as well, with a power button and some various lights that it displays while it's turned on. We have the design for Windows XP, which is, we're going to get to kind of like the software conversation here in a minute and how the challenge I experienced with this initially. And then we have the Pentium 4 logo here. So I imagine that's what's inside. The model of this particular system is PCV-RS100. Now, keep that in mind because it is something that I was looking up information on, and it was actually quite challenging to do so, to believe it or not. So on the front here, when I open this up, we have what looks like a FireWire connection, and we also have our 1394 connection, and we have our two USB ports in the front. So very clean design. Love the look of this system. It has the kind of like ventilation going on around here. This is not just a bezel, so it has some ventilation there as well. And you can see how the UV has also yellowed a bit, but that's nothing that retrobrighting cannot fix. Okay, here we are with the Sony VAIO logo engraved on the side, similar to what like a Dell would have, with the engraving on the side. It's just really nice to have this. And, the curved design here as well. And you can see how, it just continues to mimic the lines from the front here of being the curve. I really like that design specifically. And I just like what they did with this design. Okay, at the back here, we have what looks like our ATX power supply and our Sony regulatory information showing the model of PCV-RS100. So that confuses me a little bit. I guess they had different kind of nomenclature or different model information on the back here versus what's on the front of the system. So you'd have your system, then you have much more detailed model information. And maybe that's why I was having some difficulty locating the information on this, but we can go into that in a minute. Then we have our Windows XP Home Edition branded Sony Corporation license key here. And on the back, we have two PS2, two more USB. So now we have a total of 4 USB. We have an Ethernet built-on, our built-on VGA. We have also parallel and serial. We have what looks like a FireWire connection, another 1394 connection there. We have 3 more audio jacks on the back, and that's just all on the built-on I/O to the board. And it is quite dirty. I mean, the dust has been definitely collecting in the system. We have an additional fan that's populated here as well, which is actually quite caked up here, so definitely requires some sort of TLC for sure. And on the back here, we have another, it looks like an expansion card that's on the system or in the system already. We have 4 USB additional. So now we have a total of 6 USB here. And it looks like we have a modem populated here. And when I look at the modem itself, I'm not seeing any sort of information on the back that's indicating what it is, but I would guess that it's a 56K modem, given the age of the year of the system. All right, and on the other side, we also have just the regular Sony Vio and additional ventilation on the bottom here. So definitely a beautiful looking system. A little dirty, but in terms of condition, there's not one scratch, there's not one dent. I love seeing systems in such great quality and great condition to be able to do these sort of videos on. So that's really awesome. All right, so the next thing we're going to do is remove the 2 screws here. So that's right, there's only 2 screws that we need to remove to access the inside of the system. So I'm going to go ahead and just remove those 2 screws and pull the back off. So the key for this is just to pull back first to kind of unmount it and lift right up. And then that kind of takes the case off. So the design continues even on the inside. So we'll go to the motherboard side for a moment, but you can see that it's absolutely sturdy. You know how some cases or some designs have the kind of broke out here. So you have like a square mount here and then a square mount going across. But I mean, being the curve here, it just absolutely adds strength to the entire system to be able to withstand anything that you're going to do to it. So it's just really awesome to see that. Okay, and then additional, areas that you can run cabling and wires and all that. So then we have our back again. And then here we are. We have the inside of the case. Yeah, look at that. And I mean, it's not bad, all things considered. There's quite a bit of dirt built up in here, of course. But, that being the system that it is, and, if it was 2002, 2003, which is what I'm guessing the system is, I mean, come on, we're talking 20 years of stuff in here. So it's very possible that that's never been cleaned. So definitely something to be mindful of. For today's scope, what we're going to do is get this system all kind of cleaned up because, it deserves some love, and that's what we're going to give it. Okay, so yeah, I'm just looking at everything here, and I see the 2 optical drives that are here that are mounted, and everything looks really, really clean. You can see that they're utilizing just kind of like a twist tie type system here I say twist tie, but just like a little kind of hook here, plastic hook system for the wiring. I mean, even back then, cable management wasn't all that great. And then, so we don't have a hard drive in here at the moment, but I'll explain that in a little bit. Then inside, we have a very caked on Pentium 4 processor. And, we're going to have to get that all cleaned up, some nice new thermal grease applied to that thermal paste and get that all cleaned up. And then we have our RAM. So I don't exactly know what we have for memory. It does look like it is DDR memory. We have, of course, IDE cables. We have our floppy cables, and we have 2 cards here. So we have kind of like a notched out low profile with an internal USB port as well card. So it's a breakout card that's here as well. And then we have our AMR slot here, which is populated by the modem. So the AMR slot was specifically for audio modem riser. That's what it stood for. I've seen them on the boards, but never populated. So it's really cool to see that they're utilizing that to save you from utilizing, well, I guess it does block off, the modem specifically block off the extra PCI slot. But I would say if you're using that, it would give you the opportunity to use another card. But I guess it depends on the height of the card and what the components are. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is get the screwdriver here and just remove one of the cards here, a couple of the cards. We may as well start that way and just kind of see what we're getting into as we go into this. Flip it around at a different angle here shortly and kind of see, but definitely dirty, but that's okay. Again, talking about the years of the years of use that this has seen and had, but the condition of all the components is amazing. I love seeing that. Even looking at the motherboards themselves, the capacitors, they all look really good as well. So it didn't suffer from the, leaky capacitor juice plague that we had to deal with for so long. Okay, I'm removing that card there. We're also going to remove the actual modem itself just to see what it is, to see if it gives us any more information. Okay, here we go. And yeah, there's the AMR slot interface right there. I mean, there's not much to it. But again, just a cool design. Didn't last all that long because I imagine they were really pushing for what it was at the time. But I mean, it didn't end up taking on that long. So I'm looking here and just seeing if I can see an ID on it. I mean, it has FCC ID information. So model is CNR002A1B. So we'll have to figure out what that is when we fire up this system. So that's another thing to talk about right now, since we're kind of shifting from that to something else. So I noted earlier that we don't have a hard drive. And one of the key things is when I went online searching, I couldn't find an image of the backup software for this system. I went on archive.org, I went on Sony's website. Sony dumped all the supporting software, claiming at the time through archive.org through the web interface that you could potentially order from Sony at the time a set of backup disks. And I thought, okay, well, that's lost, unfortunately. So then I went on archive.org and somebody had uploaded for the RS100 model, which is what this is, they uploaded the start CD. So you'd start with the CD and then it would start to look for the DVDs or a series set of 7 additional CDs, if that was the format, or I think it was 2 DVDs that you would use, and you'd be able to restore the system. Nothing online. I could not find anything online for this. Fortunately, this system here, they had the original hard drive and it was intact and still functional and still had the recovery information on it. Thank you so much to them for that, because I don't know if I would be able to find or locate that software. All right, I'm going to remove this kind of the drive cage here, just because we're talking about the hard drive specifically. Very simple. It's literally just one screw, and it has these 4 kind of grooves that fit in the side here. It can hold the 2 hard disks there as well, which is really awesome. If you wanted to have like your main drive, and then you wanted to have an expansion drive as well there. I'll remove some cables here, nothing fancy. So we have our IDE cables, and we have our floppy cables and all that stuff. Yeah, so you can see, again, quite dirty here, but, that's okay because, again, like I keep on mentioning, that the age of the system warrants that. Okay, so I'm going to take off this, what looks like this front bezel here. I'm just hoping that the front lights are not connected to anything there. Yeah, they're not. Okay, good. Okay, so I'm just taking this off because I want to see if we can, very carefully, without Blake, yeah, okay, look at that. So we're able to get that entire front bezel off the system to, give it a good bath and get this all cleaned out, because there's lots of dirt and dust in there, so we'll do that as well. I love when the systems allow you to do that, because then, as you can see on the front here, is just absolutely caked. But you know what? It's totally fine, because we're going to be restoring that to its beauty. I just love those gray drives, and that's something Sony did quite a bit. Actually, Hewlett-Packard did that as well, I believe. But yeah, you can just see all the years of dirt that will get collected in there. But that's why we're here, to get that all sorted out. Okay, the bench is already full of dirt, and we've already started dismantling the system. So let's go to a different camera angle and get ready to start cleaning up this system in full detail. Let's go. Very familiar view for anyone who watches the channel knows that this is what we do to go through and clean the system. And, what I'm going to do today is I'm not removing the motherboard, or am I? I'm just looking to see. I may end up moving the motherboard, because as I mentioned in my last video, I really gauge whether or not I'm going to move the motherboard or not based on the dirt in the system, because, sometimes you can do more damage than it's worth by removing the motherboard in these older systems. But again, I think we're warranted to do that today because, it is quite dirty. So I'm just removing the RAM here. And I'm just removing some of the front I/O ports and things like that. So we have that removed. And the other thing I want to mention is, I love how the front panel lights and reset and power buttons are all kind of in this connector here, instead of having all the individual wires. So that's just a really added bonus every single time I see that. Okay, we have all those wires out. So we have our secondary fan here, our primary fan's up by the CPU. And it looks like we have another front panel header over on the back here So we'll just remove that from the board. Nothing too fancy there. It's kind of wedged up against the board though. I don't love that, but that's okay. We got it out anyway. Yeah, I think it's a good idea to remove the board. We're going to have to do that to clean it up. Okay, so let's keep going here. Okay, and we're back, and we have all the components removed from the system. I'm leaving the wires in there for now. I can wipe those down and get around them. And yeah, I mean, it's quite a good idea to remove it from the hard drive, or the motherboard from the system, because there's definitely some dirt in some areas here that I needed to inspect and get around, including around the power supply as well. There's some components around there, some areas in there I definitely want to get cleaned up. Okay, and yeah, I mean, it's looking really, really good. So let's just keep on going. Okay, and we're done with the chassis, and it's looking 10, 15, 20 times better than it was, and I think it's absolutely great. It's crazy how light this is without everything in it. Okay, so the very first thing we're going to do is just clean the DVD CDRW combo drive here, and yeah, we'll continue to wipe things off as we go. As you can see, it doesn't take much to clean these off. It's generally just surface, you know, dirt that's on these, just because they collect because of all the air movement in that. But you can see right away, just one wipe gets does a great job in cleaning that up. And we'll do the same thing with the other optical drive. And this is just a CD-ROM drive that we have here. A little more dirt, as you can see. It's interesting. I just noticed this. It's interesting that they are branded. This one's branded Toshiba. So this is a Toshiba DVD-RW drive, model SDR5002. And then we also have an Asus drive here as well, model CD-S400 OEM. It's crazy that, you know, to think that Sony, I mean, even though they made these drives themselves, farmed out that manufacturing to another computer manufacturer. So that's really neat to see. So all we're doing here is just wiping down the components, making sure that we're good. And there's isopropyl alcohol on this. And I'm trying to get everything just in a situation where everything's been wiped down. So I'm going to continue this process as we continue through and get everything cleaned up, get everything wiped down, and get it all ready to put back in that system. And we're back, and just look at this. Just an absolutely beautiful looking system. It's going to be so clean, so awesome to work on and utilize and keep life going for years to come. Okay, let's pop in this good old, I'm going to bend everything back here because when I was cleaning things kind of shifted a bit, but we'll put the rear I/O through the I/O shield and mount the motherboard. We have that in, and there's a kind of a screw here. There we go. Perfect. Just to kind of help align the system or the motherboard to the chassis here. Okay, we have that in there now. And the next thing we're going to do now is pop in a bunch of screws. So let's start putting this together. And, you know, just some standard screws here we have for the motherboard. Okay, now we're just going to run down this wire as it was before to the front of the board here. And it just goes all the way around and kind of swings underneath what those cards will be to pop in here. And it's already shaped to where it's supposed to go in. So you don't want to push it too hard. You just want to kind of make sure it just kind of fits in there. And then we have our front USB. So we'll pop that in here as well. And again, that has a little notch, so it kind of helps guide it along. I love when manufacturers think about that. And the same thing with our front LED, hard drive activity lights, all those things. Okay, we have that in there now as well. So we have the basic kind of wires cleaned up and put in place. and we have our motherboard securely connected. Okay, the next thing we're going to do is pop in this nice new clean power supply. I say new, it's just clean. All right, we'll pop that in. It's fairly straightforward. Just a few screws that go into that as well on the back. So now that we have that installed, I think the next thing we'll do is install the CPU, cooler, fan, all that stuff. And to do that, we need some good old MX4 Arctic for that purpose. There we are. We're good to go there. Okay, let's put this in here nice and easy. Before we connect it in, we're just going to use the little clamps that it came with and put these in. So I believe it just goes like this, goes over, and then kind of pushes down and clips in. And I don't want to do too hard. That's just like that. And we'll do the same thing, except this is opposite. Just kind of clips underneath the plastic bracket. We have that on now, and we're going to put our CPU fan header on as well. So now we have power to the CPU fan. Look how beautiful that looks now. Perfectly clean. Let's get some memory installed. And before I do that, I'm going to say it again, as I say all the time. I need some little bit of contact cleaner there, which I need to get some more of, apparently. There we are. And the contact cleaner just helps any residual dirt or grime that's inside there to make contact where it should be. Clean helps clean. I just put it in a couple times just to kind of make sure it makes contact with all the different pins. There we are. That's in. We'll do the same thing here. And we're not looking at upgrading the RAM right now. We're just trying to restore the system back to what we had and get the system up even operational, right? And we're going to go through that together. And I just love the VAIO right here. written right on the board there. I love it. And then we have that good old 2032 battery. I would say it's time to replace that guy. Okay, I got that out. And that shows an expiry date of 20. Not sure. Let's just replace it anyway. We're here. Brand new coin cell battery. Very, very refreshing. Next step, we have that all good. I think we should slide a couple of those drives in. I don't know what you guys are thinking, but I think that that's what we should do. And the top one had the CDRW, DVD-RW drive. Slide that right in there nice and cleanly. We'll slide in the CD-ROM drive. Here we are. And we'll line up the holes there. We're pulling our system all back together here. It's just exciting to see. While we're here, we may as well slide in the floppy drive as well. Okay, now we'll just plug in a couple of IDE cables. We'll hook the power up last just because of the way it's positioned. There we are. We have that out of the way. Okay, the first thing I'm going to do is hook up that optical IDE. And I did notice, because in the last video it sparked some comments around the optical drive audio cable that runs down to the sound card. Well, this computer has built-in audio, and there's none. This is actually one of those systems that the data, the audio goes through the data cable. So just food for thought, we do have one in front of us. And then the floppy, we'll pop that on there. And the twist is going to go towards the drive itself. That's just how you know. And that's in there now. We'll slide this around here. Try to cable manage as much as cable management we can do in this system. We got that in there now. That's awesome. And you can see that's where it was, where everything was kind of cleaned up and tightened up there originally because of the way everything's kind of crimped and shrunk together there. We have that now. Let's pop in some cards just because we're here. We have a card that goes in here, and this was kind of like running along the motherboard, so I'm not worried about that black cable that's there. We have one there, and we have a screw for that as well. And then we'll put in our USB expansion card. And you wouldn't think that in real time, this has been about 2.5 hours of cleaning and scrubbing, but the joys of editing gives you the ability to see everything in real time. So we have that now, and I'm saving the last IDE until we get, actually, you know what? We talked about this, and I didn't do it. So I'm going to pull out that caddy one more time, just because we need to put in the hard disk. And so the hard disk that I'm using is the 80 gig Western Digital. And again, I copied the image over to this already. So I'm just sliding that in. I'm going to mount that in this cage that we have. And we'll go back and put that back in. And we'll put in our screw here to hold the drive in place. So now that gives us the ability to hook up our last IDE cable, and this is going to go into the primary one. So I accidentally had the optical drives in the primary, so I'm switching that over now to be the primary for the hard disk. And I have that in there, and I'm just leaving it on the first header here, the first connector, and then the second connector will be used for a secondary drive if required. And then here, we'll put that optical IDE back on the board. There we go. We have that, and it's looking fantastic. Okay, let's put in our Molex connector to the DVD drive. The same thing with the Molex connector for the CD-ROM drive. Sometimes these can be fiddly. Just got to push on them, get them into place. And the same thing with this other connector for the floppy drive as well. Okay, so we have all our cables kind of here, and then I'm going to pop in the other Molex connector here. And again, I'm leaving it as if it's going to be a second drive here if required. And we'll pop in our ATX power as well. Okay, our ATX power supply is now connected. And then so we have a couple extra cables going on here. Looks like we have a fan. Looks like to be a fan header there, but I don't think that was connected originally. And then we're going to pop on our other fan on the back of the system. Okay, so we have our chassis fan installed, and we're just going to plug in the header for the power as well there. So that's all good to go. Okay, so we have this last one, this last header over here that actually is marked on the motherboard as PSU fan 1. So I'm going to connect that into there because that's what it's labeled as, and that is what it is. I don't think there's anything else that I need to worry about or anything else I need to think about at the moment. We're going to get that front bezel put on as well. Get the system all ready to test post. Here we go. Okay, so I figured what I will do is kind of show everyone the inside first at a different angle before I put on the front chassis here. And you can see how clean everything has just become. This system here, extremely well built, absolutely clean and spotless now. I just love how clean all the fans are. And that makes a world of difference when you're computing or when you're using the system, just having everything kind of clean for the airflow. You're removing any chance of any thermal barriers for heat dissipation not to happen. Okay, so I'm going to pop in this. I think it's just the top first, based on how it was kind of put together. And yeah, that's literally it. That was so easy. It definitely was easier to put on than take off. But there we go. Our beautiful, shiny Sony VAIO system. Now it's time to get the bench all set up and try to post. Okay, and here we are all ready to power up. And I forgot to mention one thing. Even though we don't have a Sony monitor at hand, other than a big CRT Trinitron, which we're not going to use for this, but wouldn't that be cool to see? Anyway, we actually have the Sony VAIO keyboard that was original to this system, as well as the Sony VAIO mouse. Yes, a ball mouse as well. The matching set. Just astounding. And just look how beautiful this system is. All scrubbed down, cleaned up, all ready to go. Now, won't it be really funny if the system doesn't post? Well, you know what? That's the excitement on the channel. That's what we do here. We do all this work. I show you the footage. Sometimes I cut things out, but quite frankly, I love seeing the comments in the down below. And if everything worked all the time, it wouldn't be so fun. Okay, let's hit the power and see what happens. Oh, I'm nervous. Do I hit the power? Do I do it? Oh yeah, let's do it. Oh, look at that beautiful light. Beautiful Sony. Love it. Love it. I'm going to hit pause here just to see where we are. Wow. It's posting. Beautiful Sony VAIO RS100 posting. Just look at the beautiful... I just love that. Look at the light. That's awesome. The video's not about the light. I get that, but it's so cool. All right. So we have Award Medallion BIOS version 6 and Energy Star Ally. Copyright 1984 to 2001. So we have BIOS revision 1003 to take note. I can't find any software on this system, to be honest with you. So I'm relying on the retro community seeing this video of this beautiful Sony Vio. If you have any other software for this, recovery disks, if you have the BIOS revisions, let me know. I would love to be able to connect with you on that. Our hard drive is mixed up here a little bit, so it's detecting as a slave, not a master, so I'll have to fix that up real quickly. I'm going to go ahead and restart the system and get that hard drive fixed up here. Okay, so because I have the hard drive on cable select, this is the fun of jumpers, right? On the old days, because I have the hard drive set up as cable select, where you position it on the cable determines whether it's master or slave. So I just moved it down, became master, we're good to go. That only becomes a problem if I install another second drive and I have to fiddle around with that. Let's go back. So we have a Pentium 4, 528 megs of RAM. Our primary masters are Western Digital 80 gig. Only 60 gig is set up and formatted. When I did the actual image restoration, I did not utilize that entire space just because the original drive that was in this system was 60 gigabytes. And I gave that back to the family just because there's to back up of all their pictures and stuff. And you know what? The more I can do that to help, the better it is. Okay, so we have detecting secondary master there, our Toshiba DVD-ROM. And we also have our secondary slave, which is an Asus CD-ROM drive. CMOS checksum error. It's doing that because I have taken out that coin cell battery. So this is just reminding me of that. Let's go into setup and see what the Sony setup looks like. All right, well, it's not very different from what we're used to seeing. So let's get the system date and time all set up here. Let's go to advanced. So it shows our CPU speed is set to 2 gigahertz. Our I/O device configuration, just let you know that our onboard audio, our modem controller, our different controllers are all enabled and set to auto. Same thing with our serial ports. This gives you all the different interrupts and hardware addressing. Awesome. Power, so our hardware monitor, so it's showing the CPU temperature at 36 degrees Celsius, which is absolutely beautiful for this system. And of course, we installed that brand new thermal paste, which makes a big difference. And of course, we have some power management stuff there as well. So then it says a TAPI CD-ROM is our first boot device. Removable would be the floppy secondary. Hard drive would be third, and that's it. So we're going to hit exit and save, and we're going to go into the actual system itself. Now, here's the disclaimer while this boots up is I had to use their drive, do a mirror image of that drive, then put the drive in here, the second drive, do a full restoration, then take another image to get the proper image for the system because I didn't want to take an image with all their personal information and everything on it. So we're up to the system booting. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into the actual Sony experience to show you what it would be like to do the actual recovery wizard. So this is where it becomes critical. On newer operating systems and newer Sony devices, it gives you the option to create recovery media. I do not have that option here. I have the option when I hit next to create a recovery startup CD, which is awesome, but it says here it requires that if your C drive is corrupt. But it's assuming that the secondary partition inside this system has the recovery media on it to be able to make additional, or to be able to point to it and tell it to restore. So that's why I took the image of the entire operating system. And I did create the CD. I did try that. Unfortunately, it didn't work. So again, if you know anybody that has the actual recovery disks for this, please contact me down below in the comments or my YouTube email address. Okay. So I'm going to say I've already created the recovery startup CD. We're going to hit next. It gives us two options here. We have this option reinstalls the C drive to the original factory installed settings. All files and applications on the C drive are deleted. Naturally, partition sizes remain the same. Awesome. This operation requires the restart of the computer upon completion. Fine. Or we can do customary recovery or custom recovery, recommended for advanced users. This option changes partition size and recovers the system. I'm not doing that. I mean, I could, but because I know what I'm working with here, I'm not worried about that. But you could go in and actually adjust the partitions for what you're trying to do, especially if you had to recover to a different drive and if you had the recovery media. Let's hit next on default system drive. Now it says, are you sure? Are you beginning? The size of your drive is not going to change, but this is what it does. It reinstalls everything to factory settings. I'm going to hit next for yes. And then it says click finish to restart. Once the recovery process starts, it cannot be stopped. And this is critical because it's going to wipe all your system files, all your personal data, and put it all back to the original settings of this system, which is what you see here. But I want to guide everyone through the process as part of this beautiful experience of this beautiful Sony VAIO on the Retro Recall. Okay, let's click on finish, and it should start the process for us. Okay, so it says starting VAIO system recovery utility. Please wait. Don't you just love the look of this? The only thing missing is that Sony Vio, I think it was a 17-inch LCD that came with the system. Sorry, I say it came with it, but it was more spec for the system. It did have the flyer that I found online showed that actual monitor for the system, which was pretty darn cool. It's just a matter of finding it. Okay, so it says default system drive recovery is recommended. Executing restoring drive C and working. Finalizing process is the next step in that. So you can see it going through here. It's going to restore drive C, and there's not much to show here because all it's doing is copying the data over from the secondary partition that's in here. So you have your main partition, which is your operating system drive, and then that's where you store your data and everything's fine. And then you have your secondary partition on this drive, which would be your Sony restoration. I'm so happy to have this. I can't say it enough. So thank you to Susan and Patty. Thank you so much for lending me that drive to be able to get this, because I'll be honest with you, I was a bit worried because I couldn't find the drivers for some of these components, specifically the chipsets on the motherboard. And I just wanted to make sure I had them all. So we're going to continue. We're going to jump cut right to the end here to the next step. Okay, here we are at the end. It says completed in 3 minutes and 58 seconds. And for the record, the first drive I installed in this machine did over 6 minutes. So the actual restore process and the drive access rates are much faster for whatever reason in this newer 80 gigabyte hard drive. I say for whatever reason, it's probably just a better, faster RPM drive. Okay, we're gonna click on next. And now it says recovery process is complete. Hit finish to restart your computer. Absolutely. Windows XP Home Edition. Please wait while Windows prepares to start. Windows XP in the top right there. Welcome to Microsoft Windows. Thank you for purchasing this computer from Sony Electronics featuring Microsoft Windows XP. Let's spend a few minutes setting up your computer. I just love the music. I love the XP startup. I just love all of this. What an awesome experience. Just look at this. Got to put the mouse in there too. Awesome. Okay, hit next. What time zone? We're in an Atlantic time zone. We'll select that. And yes, I absolutely read everything. And no computer description for now. So that's where you can put it on the network, but to choose the name and choose the computer description to identify this system on the network. Checking your internet connectivity. Windows, you will not find it. Okay, how will this computer connect to the internet? We're going to connect via a modem? Sure, no. We're going to use a local area LAN, local area network, I should say, and we'll say obtain automatically. Ready to register with Sony Electronics Inc. and Microsoft? No, not at this time for either. Hit next. There we go. What's our name? The Retro Recall. Or do I name it the Totally Awesome Sony? All right, the Retro Recall. We'll go back. I just love this computer. It's just look. It's just absolutely beautiful. Love it, love it, love it. Okay, next. Congratulations, you're ready to go. To learn more about the exciting new features of Windows XP, take the product tour. You can also find useful information in the Help and Support Center. These options are located in the Start menu. Well, Sony, we're not going to look at that just now, but click on Finish, and we're going to see what's next. And there's our Windows XP startup sound. VAIO. Now, everyone had a sneak peek little cheat at the beginning because I wanted to do the full restoration with everybody. But now you're starting to experience what I saw when I had the opportunity to be able to actually do this. Okay, there's important update or supplemental information about your VAIO computer. Click Read Now to review this information immediately, or click Remind Me later. So it is, I think it's just a README. Yeah, here we go. Here comes the Adobe Reader. And just regarding additional information that would have been added to the system, probably post the actual manual being created that would have came with it. So it's pretty neat to have that. So, I mean, we're not leading through that just now, but again, the experience of buying an OEM, Sony OEM PC, seeing what it was like back then. So here we are. We have our VAIO desktop. Experience VAIO. Let's click on that and see what we have. It's one of the softwares that comes with it. So we have pictures. So make the most of your digital photos. Sony VAIO PC lets you crop, enhance, store, and share your favorite shots. Movies with Sony VAIO PC. You're the director in your own personal movie studio. Edit video, add music, and produce interactive DVDs just like the pros. Music, the ultimate music, or the ultimate portable music player and recording studio. Sony VAIO PC lets you download music files, create playlists, and record custom CDs. And games. With the right software, your Sony VAIO PC can become your complete entertainment center. This is just so awesome. And then you can go different ones. Sony Style, the ultimate online electronics store. So Sony Style, you can go online and there's that monitor. There's the monitor, everybody. That's the one I want. We got to get it for this system. Okay, and then have your support and click on. You have internet access. So you can actually sign up for different internet services if you didn't have one already through the LAN connection. And then special offerings that would have came back with the PC. Click here to see what Sony products are marked down this week. Okay, we're going to close that for now, but just wanted to go through that. We have AOL Broadband, so you would click on that. Try AOL Broadband today. Remember AOL? The first month is free, and then free activation, free startup kit, and modem use included. So it tells you all the different things. Call this number and use the AOL keyword. Yeah, so they definitely teamed up with them to help you out here. VAIO hints and tips, and gives you all the different support for the system and how to utilize it. That's just absolutely great. I'm just going to zoom in here a little bit. Let's click on Real One Player. So Real One Player is, well, basically Real Player, right? And it's just a more modern version of it at the time. Welcome to Real One Player. Thank you for using Real One Player, all the digital media that lets you find anything and play everything. I really remember that. Click on Accept. We read through that. What's your connection speed? Well, you know what? We have the Office LAN, full speed. Give me everything. Yes, associate everything with Real One Player. Contacting real networks to continue setup. Well, I don't think they're operational, but we'll cancel that for now. But I mean, it's pretty cool. There it is there. There's Real One Player.
You're now in control of the most powerful media player in the world.
We are the most powerful. I'm stopping it just because I don't want any copyright stuff. But yeah, that's awesome. We have Real One Player. So, I mean, that can essentially take the place of Media Player, Windows Media Player on this system instead of utilizing the Windows Media Player. So I think it's pretty cool. VAIO Games, we looked at that earlier. VAIO Movies, VAIO Music, and VAIO Pictures. So these were all icons that were within that Experience VAIO icon that we had. We also have VAIO DVD Creation. I think that's pretty darn neat. So click to DVD and click to DVD automatic mode and record now. So you have the ability to make your own DVDs on the system. And obviously this works, and it's so beautiful to see that it's all clean. Okay, VAIO Home Network. So I imagine this is where you can connect to other VAIO PCs. So enjoy home network multimedia. You want to listen to music, you want to view photos or watch video. Let's click on View Photos. Let's see if it has any things installed here. So it sees, please select a server. So it sees this system as a server. And yeah, okay, so you could theoretically have other devices, or dare I say other Sony devices, connected to this computer, or to the network, I should say, that would allow you to interconnect with every different system and utilizing this software to be able to access those things. And the same thing theoretically can be done with your music and your video. Just so cool. Again, out of the box that this came with, I mean, you're going to be spending hours just learning and playing around with all this software above and beyond the actual operating system. And I know in the industry we coined this as bloatware, because as things started to slow down on the computer over time, whether it was because of the operating system or because of the software you're installing, various reasons, we would first turn to that bloatware and install it, because we all know a fresh, clean copy of Windows XP would run slightly differently, because you wouldn't have all the different items running in your system, taking up your memory and, taking up how much RAM you had. So, upgrading the memory would obviously help that. This system, I could probably upgrade to a gig or a gig and a half of memory. I'm not sure exactly what this supports, but I'd have to look into it. Just wanted to keep it as factory as possible for now. Okay, continuing on, we have internet access, and we also have AOL and internet free trial. So we have AOL broadband, and we also have the internet really pushing AOL. Okay, under the start menu, we have your Windows XP start menu. So we have your typical items. I'm not going to go through all of these just because they are related to Windows XP. DirecTV, DSL. So we have the option to go to Earthlink even. So we had Earthlink, AOL, DirecTV, Earthlink. That's something I haven't seen in a while. So we have the VAIO Hits and Tips, File Recovery Wizard, which I did show everybody already on the channel. That's how we were able to restore everything. Set program access and defaults. It's all Windows basic items. And then under Click to DVD is another piece of software to be able to utilize, and that was Sony DVD. It also comes with CyberLink Power DVD as well. It's just awesome the amount of software that came with. Then we have DV Gate, so digital video gate, I imagine, is what that is. So you hook up your digital video through, it really promoted the 1394 connections that we had on the system, because, this has two of them. This has one in the front and one on the back as well. So then we have games, which were your typical Windows XP games. We have McAfee.com, so we have the Security Center and the Virus Scan Online. Picture Gear Studio, so another studio for pictures, I would imagine. We have Quicken here. We actually have accounting software that came with the system as part of it. I think that's so cool. Think about having that back in the day. QuickTime. So we have QuickTime Video for any sort of Apple compatible products. We have Reel for our Reel 1 player as well. Sonic Stage for backing up audio CDs. Oh, it's awesome. Okay, under our startup, we have a few items that are listed there to start up automatically. We have VAIO Media. So we can go in. We already saw that earlier. Some VAIO system information. So this is, again, similar to the IBM video I did. This is their way of showing you what's in your, basically a summary snapshot of your computer. Specifically, if you wanted to call for support, can you please click on this, sir or ma'am or whoever, and say, can you go in and please read off all the information, the system information for me? So there's the RS100, and it tells you about the BIOS version, your service pack, what's installed in the OS, and all that. So I think that's fantastic. And our serial service tag number there as well. Okay, let's go back here and let's keep on going. So we have Veritas software. So that's our record now. It even comes with WordPerfect Office 2002. So this is Corel. WordPerfect 10 is the version it's calling itself. It says 2002. Having this included out of the box, a full registered copy is just blows my mind. I think it's absolutely great where, I realized WordPerfect was a cheaper version compared to Microsoft Office Suite. But again, this was still a couple $100 and it came with it, and at a price point for these computers, which is just astounding. Okay, keep on going down here. We have Adobe Reader, which we saw already. We have Image Station. We have Internet Explorer. We have MSN 8. Who remembers MSN and MSN Messenger? Oh, just awesome. Oh, the days of using that for chat. Okay, Outlook Express for your email. Real One Player. They just separated it from the actual program group. Remote assistance, obviously, if you want help with someone logging into your computer. And then we have Sony on Yahoo Essentials and Windows Media Player and Windows Messenger. Look at this. This is just absolutely great. So it shows your, theme is obviously modified, but if you click on desktop, it shows the various, this wallpaper in various resolutions if you want to adjust it. And of course, it gives you all the different Windows XP themes. But you know what? I love this VAIO one. I'm leaving that right in place. Just totally attractive. Love it. Okay, under settings, you can see that the video card does have the option, 1280 by 1024, which is not too bad, at 32-bit color. Now, let's go into Device Manager real quickly, just to do a quick look at this system. So here we are. We have Windows XP Home Edition version 2002, Service Pack 1, registered, of course, the Retro Recall. Then we have our Sony electronics. So we have our actual ID for the system, Intel Pentium 4 at 2 gigahertz, and 504 megs of RAM because we have some shared information. Of course, it is OEM, so it allows you to click on support information to be able to get support on this system itself. Click on hardware under device manager, and here we are. So if you see, every driver is installed. Why? Because I use the recovery system. I cannot guarantee I would have gotten at least all the system devices installed properly without that, because nothing was online on Sony, and every link that I clicked on did not work. Okay, disk drives, there's our Western Digital 80 gig drive. Our display adapters, we have a built-on Intel Extreme graphics controller, but we do have the extra PCI slots available on the motherboard, so we theoretically could put a better video card in there, which is awesome. We have our DVD and CD-ROM drives here, which we've already talked about a few times. We have our different controllers. There's our Firewire, our IEE 1394 controller. And keep on going down, we have modem. There we go. We have Azure Systems AC97 modem. Our monitors, plug and play monitor network adapters. We have our Realtek 10100, I believe, our Family Fast Ethernet NIC, which is awesome. And of course, we have a 1394 net adapter. There's our beautiful Pentium 4 2 gigahertz CPU. And our sound card is the Realtek AC97 audio. So I imagine, you know, that's pretty standard for OEMs. They would use that or SalMax or things like that. But again, you have that expansion ability within the system board to be able to add on additional items if you really wanted to. I think this is absolutely beautiful. And this is such a wonderful system. You know, you still have the ability to do some upgrades on this if you want. I mean, we can pop in a different sound card if we want. We can upgrade the video if we want. And, you know, there's updates to do to this. We have some additional work we could do in terms of, you know, retrobrighting this beautiful bezel here. The keyboard itself definitely needs some cleaning. And you can see some discoloration as well from any sort of UV light. And so that would be something we could also retrobrite along with the mouse. So we definitely have some more things we can do to this beautiful system. But for today's video and scope, I really wanted to bring everyone along the journey and be able to showcase this absolutely beautiful, amazing system for everybody on the Retro Recall. I thoroughly enjoyed being able to do this for everybody. I hope you did. And if you did, please hit that like button and hit the notification button, change it to all. You'll be notified of new content such as this. Please hit that subscribe button. It really helps the channel out, helps the channel grow, you know, the YouTube algorithm and all those good things. We just hit 4,300 subscribers and we keep on going. So thank you to every one of my supporters. Please leave a comment down below. Do you have the original discs for this system? Do you have the monitor? Do you have the speakers that would have come with this? Did you have a Sony Vio? Tell me your stories. I love all the comments. I reply to every one of them down below, and I love the interaction on the channel. Always making new content. Have a wonderful day. We'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.